This is the Waupaca County Board of Supervisors meeting.
On this Tuesday, November 10th, 2015, please press your roll call button. Attendance button.
Roll call shows 25 members present, 1 excused and 1 absent.
Robbins, has her open meeting statement been fulfilled?
Yes, it has. Properly posted.
Thank you. Today we'll stand for a silent meditation and a pledge. Once again, I ask to remember Connie Albert in our prayers. She's been transferred to St. Louis for further treatment. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You have the agenda before you that was sent to you. Is there a motion for approval of the said agenda?
And there's also an agenda before you with the little leaves on it, 3 leaves. Use that one. I just did add Judy Deschler's name to an area. The second was already on there, but just so that you have the most recent one in front of you.
There's a motion by Supervisor Peterson for approval and a second by Supervisor Sorensen. Any questions regarding the agenda? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
Likewise, the minutes were in your packet. Previous meeting. Is there a motion approval for the minutes of the past meeting? Is there a motion by Supervisor Quistman and a second by Supervisor McClellan? Any discussion regarding past month's minutes? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
Okay, we'll need a motion to open the public hearing, the proposed 2016 budget and 85-21 transportation services budget. Is there a motion to go in? There's a motion by Supervisor Johnson and then a second by Supervisor Zog. Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0. The public hearing is open.
Those that want to come up and speak, please come to the podium, and we will time you with 3 minutes. Name and address included. Thank you.
I'm Mary Beth Keister, 7 8th Street, Clintonville. I'm an alderman for District 4 in Clintonville, and I'm also on the Finance Committee. We have our budget hearing tonight. I want to commend all of you that have worked so hard on the budget. I know what's involved. I've been involved in it, and we thank you for this opportunity. I would like to add that our hearing is at 6 o'clock at night. I've had other people discuss, people that couldn't come with me because your hearing is during the working days. And I know your board meetings are also during the working days, and I'm aware that many of you are retired people. I happen to be also, so I was able to attend. But you might consider having a public hearing at a time where working people could attend. That would be appreciated. I wanted to comment on something that was, and I know that many of you are retired. However, I did, in our local paper, we had a listing of how many meetings each of you attend. I think the total expense for meetings and transportation to Waupaca is something like $173,000 a year. Clintonville is the farthest reach from the Waupaca, I think, And we have two representatives, Mr. Fedowitz and of course your chairman, are from Clintonville. And when we were coming over, we had a wonderful experience meeting with your Highway Commission Board, because we did have successfully that you put in the budget the widening of Highway I. However, we did come over as a group and we did carpool. And one of the members that came with us is a former county board member, and he said that when he was a county board member, they used to carpool and come to meetings together. And I know that that isn't always possible because you have different meetings and other things to stay for. But Mr. Keppen, for example, I think had 172 meetings. He also has a, he's not by any means retired because he has a full-time business in Clintonville, and he also runs the taxi for us in Clintonville. So I think the number of meetings, if maybe you can be respectful of each other's time. The other thing I'd like to comment on is just the size of the board. That would cut down on that expense. I know this is a very unpopular topic, but I went through it in Madison. We talked about reducing the size of the county board, and that could then reduce that total expenditures for meetings. The other comment I'd like to make is there is $500,000 set aside in the budget for a new county highway building. In Clintonville, we just are retrofitting ours and putting insulated doors because it is a heated building. I assume yours is heated too, and saving energy. But I know there are tough times for people, for our citizens right now. The services for the human services are very important. So I would caution about spending money on brick and mortar when we have many public needs. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Steve Yeager from Manimal, Wisconsin. I'm here to comment on this end of funding for Lakeview Manor. Now, I know that they have the 1.4 million savings, and maybe they can do something with that to help. But based on the 12 nursing homes supposedly we're supposed to have in Waupaca County, if you go on Medicare.gov, which any of you have, you'll see the ranks of these nursing homes. Lakeview Manor and Bethany, both are 5-star pretty much all the way through, where the rest of them aren't. They have actually below average. Now, you have a brother, sister, father, mother, whoever, they go to Lakeview Manor, they're pretty happy. They see that their family's being well taken care of. Whereas the other ones, maybe not. We've got taxpayers' dollars going to, say, the jail here. You don't get a thank you from the inmates. I mean, you just sit there and we pay for their clothes, their food. Do we get anything from the state as far as any refund? Maybe, maybe not. But Lakeview Manor, you also realize the people who are working there, do they lose their jobs? They've probably been taxpayers all their life. Even the people that have been at Lakeview, they've probably worked all their life, paid taxes, so they're thinking maybe they're getting some of their money back based on this. So that's my comment as far as ending the funding. I would not say end it. Maybe if you have to take away a little bit, fine. But I would not end the whole program, because if you go there and see the people who work there, the care that's being given, you can't go anywhere else. So thank you for your time.
And thank you. Next.
My name is Shirley Yeager. I'm a citizen of the county, have been my whole life a taxpayer. I'm just ending an 8-month contract employee for the county. I'll be done tomorrow, and I'm coming to speak on 2 issues. The first one is the workload that the public health nurses have in this county. When I was hired, one nurse had retired in December, a full-time nurse, and I was hired to do some of her work to kind of keep the county up. In July, your health officer retired, so that's another full-time nurse. Now, we have a gal that just started last week, so that'll replace myself plus 20 hours. I've been working 20 hours a week. You still are down 1 full-time nurse. In addition, I guess I was surprised to see that the board agreed to hire 4 new positions, but no nurses were included. I know you don't understand exactly what goes on in nursing because you're not up there seeing what we do. I was hired to work on a mandated program by the state. It's called WEDS, the Wisconsin Electronic Disease Surveillance Program. So I check with anyone in this county. I have to do follow-up for anyone with any kind of communicable disease. In my tenure here, I've done 150 cases that I've opened, did the follow-up, and closed. Because we were so short-staffed, our health officer asked the state of Wisconsin if they would help us with some of the more difficult cases. Some of them, like campylobacteriosis, take sometimes 4 hours to do the follow-up. So the state said they would help us. I have sent 51 cases to the state to help, in addition to the 150 I've done. And that service ends now with our new nurse being hired. The real problem, though, is the equipment we have to work on. When I came in end of March or beginning of April, the computer I had has got the XP system in. I can't have 2 programs up at the same time. I can't have the state program up and try to access another program without shutting that one down first. I have asked repeatedly to get, if we couldn't get the computer system upgraded. Health officer had requested this in 2014. It was denied. Then December 2014, met with the management and said they had the funds to purchase these computers through the Ebola funds and preparedness funds. It was again denied. And then recently there was a meeting for the health committee, and I was told that computers were brought up again, and the health committee personnel were told that our health officer that is now retired didn't get her information in on time, didn't get the request in on time for the computers to be had, which is not true. It was in on time. Also, I was told by Chuck, in probably August, we had a meeting with our department after the health officer left, that we had 50 computers waiting to be put up into the areas that needed computers. That was in July. This is November. We still don't have computers. So it's just frustrating for me. I don't think that the committees are being given the true information, in my opinion, and then therefore that information isn't gotten to you. So I would hope that something could be done so that your nurses have the ability to get this done. So much time is wasted on the mandated program that we can't get at the other things that need to be done. One other side note is there's another department in health, which is Healthy Beginnings. It's not nurses, but it's another department that takes care of needy families. In 2011, Healthy Beginnings got 2 new laptops funded by a different funding. And I have it down here and I can't find it. And the manager requested through upper management to get more computers this year, and he got more laptops this year. So, and that's not a mandated program. So they have the new computers, the mandated programs don't, and I think it's a real problem. And the other
Quick
comment.
point, Shirley, your time's up. Quick point. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I just kind of go along with the other comments made about funding for Lakeview Manor. I think somehow we should be able to tweak that, because I don't think we should be raising our tax levy when we've got this kind of situation going on with money in the coffers that could be used, Lakeview Manor's money, instead of more tax dollar money. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Deborah Fensky, 509 West Fulton Street, Waupaca. I am here today to talk about Lakeview Manor's portion of your 2016 budget. The Lakeview Manor Board has determined the nursing home will need a little over $1.1 million next year to take care of 32 people. Did you know Lakeview Manor has an enterprise account? At the end of the year, they will have $1.4 million in it. Yet the Lakeview Manor Board doesn't want to touch it. They are asking the taxpayers to pay $937,000 for their operating costs next year. I feel this is outrageous and an insult to every single taxpayer. I have served as an alderman on the Waupaca City Council for many years, and I have worked on many budgets. Our goal was always to have a balanced budget. Whether we could or not, that was our goal, with no tax increase. Let me tell you, it's a great feeling to meet your constituents and tell them you're not raising their taxes.
From what I see, you only need to find $500,000 to get to a zero increase. The answer's staring you in the face. The county board should reduce the amount of money you are putting on the tax levy for Lakeview Manor by $500,000 and make Lakeview Manor use $500,000 that's in their enterprise account. By doing this, you will accomplish three things. Lakeview Manor will get its money for the next year of $1.1 million. Lakeview Manor will still have an enterprise account with over $800,000 in it. You will have a balanced budget with no tax increase for the taxpayer. Perhaps you feel that 2% increase isn't very much, but add that to the state, the county, the school, the townships, and that starts to hurt, especially when the increase is not necessary. A month from now, you will be getting signatures to run again for office. I want you to think about how you're going to answer your constituents' questions when they ask you why you kept $1.4 million in an account and you tax the taxpayers on top of that another $900,000. Personally, I feel Lakeview Manor is not needed. If you go into the other nursing homes, you will find very happy people, very well taken care of people. That's a discussion for another day. Today, I'm here to talk about the money. I urge you to step up to the plate and do what's right. Insist that Lakeview Manor use more of its enterprise account. You'll feel good about it. Your tax-paying constituents will feel great about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak? Is there anyone else that would like to come up to the podium and speak? Third time. Is there anyone else that would like to come up and speak? Thank you. At this time, I will accept a motion to close the public hearing and open the annual session. There's a motion to close the public hearing by Mr. Fedowitz and a second by Mr. Handrick. Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0. The public hearing is closed.
Okay, we are back into our annual board session. Next item on the agenda is going to be Waupaca County Economic Development, Dave Teal, on a revolving loan fund for Tom and Lori Hilliker. Hilliker Warehousing, LLC, City of New London. David?
Good morning, everyone. Today I have Lori and Tom Hilker with me. They've formed a new company called Hilker Warehousing, and they're looking to repurpose a building that's been empty in New London for a number of months. A very important building for New London. It sits on the river. It's the old Saputo plant. Before that it was Borden's. And Saputo moved out. They consolidated their operations into their plant in Black Creek, and so we have a really significant large building sitting there empty at this point in time. So fortunately for us, some local people are looking at putting a new business in there, and I'm going to have Lori just speak a little bit about what they're doing, and then I'll come back and tell you where we're at with trying to get this approved at this point. So, Lori?
Good morning. My name is Lori Hilker. I am a resident of New London, born and raised there, married to my husband Tom for 31 years, and we've worked together for that long, if you can believe it, with my mother and father-in-law through Hilker Trucking. So we've made some really great connections in the community as well as in the trucking industry. And we have seen a huge need for some cold storage in Waupaca County. And when that Saputo building became available, my husband had a great vision to open it up and repurpose it. So we did send a few feelers out with the customers that we have, and they are all, we're so excited just to have an area right within our community to store and some cheese and some other products that we have other people that we do business with. and store some of their products as well. So we've been in there with our family. We have 2 children in their late 20s that are willing to put a lot of sweat equity into the building. So we got in there, cleaned it out, made sure that it was all in proper order, that the building was actually in good enough shape to use as a cold storage, filed all of the things that we need to do to get our licensing and things like that. So we're going forward and trying to get it open to establish a business there. And we have been looking for people in the community help us. We've done our insurances through there. We've brought in quite a few people to help and use the hardware store and the Walmart and everything that we possibly could to help the economy right in New London, because we're not going anywhere. And through our trucking company, we'll be able to truck that product out that we are storing in there, therefore keeping our employees employed as well. So we're just looking forward to getting it opened and going forward with that. I don't know if you have any questions or anything else I can tell you or answer for you, I'd be happy to do so.
So Wolf River Bank in New London is the lead bank on this, and they're actually waiting to get minutes from our approval, and the city of New London is using their RLF loan fund to be a part of this too. So we would be combining with them basically and sharing a position with them. And this is really a great project. I mean, the price that they're paying is really, really a good price. And so the Wolf River Bank is just gonna take a first position on the real estate. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment that is still left in that building. So we would be sharing a first position with the city of New London on that. So we're asking you to approve an $80,000 loan. The city's going tonight to approve a $70,000 loan. So for $150,000, there's more than $200,000 worth of equipment in that building that we would be securing our position within a first, and we would also take a second on the real estate, of course. The committee, the RLF committee that you appoint, reviewed this and approved it. Then it went to my executive committee, which Dick is a member of that, and they approved it. And then it was at the finance committee, was that last week? Yes. And the finance committee approved it also. So we're here today to try to get the final approval from the board. Any questions?
Mr. Ellis?
What percentage of the whole business is our 80 grand? I'm not quite sure I understood the math.
The price is $340. Okay, so the price is $340. So
So 1/3, 1/4,
one quarter.
that's-
Yep. There's the job creation is they need to create one job for every $35,000 that they borrow. So there's basically it's 5 jobs total, 2 for the city, 3 for us. So they really anticipate that that will not be an issue once they get up and rolling. They have 3 years to create those jobs.
Okay, we need a motion before any further discussion. There's a motion by Vice Chair Barrington. There's a second by Supervisor Zod. Okay, now further discussion or motion, or further discussion or questions? Yes. Okay. The motion was in the second to approve the loan. Yes. Okay. Question by Mr. Jonley.
You mentioned there was a lot of equipment left there. Is it something they're gonna use or put up for sale, or,
We are going to use it.
so it's mostly like refrigeration equipment?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, before we're going to go in item 10, discuss the 2016 budget. I'm first going to have Heidi Dabrowski come up here, Finance Director, just to add something, I believe, to the discussion before we make a motion and vote on the budget. Heidi?
Good morning.
Good morning, Heidi.
Okay, after the last meeting, I did touch base with our financial advisors, and I just wanted to give you some feedback on some of the issues or questions that have arisen. First of all, although there is no one thing that completely drives the county rating, by having the enterprise fund, or any fund by that matter, relying on a drawdown of its fund balance to operate is not credit positive. This is especially true if the drawdown does not fit into a long-term funding plan or strategy. The county's last rating report stated that while the county's nursing home enterprise fund continues to receive taxpayer support with a dedicated 25-cent mill levy, operations are expected to remain stable with no general fund support anticipated. Now, if you remember, our bond rating did increase at the last time we issued bonds. So while in isolation, a one-year levy reduction to Lakeview Manor is not likely to result in a rating downgrade, this could be something that could put downward pressure on the county's rating, particularly if this cut continues. By reducing the levy support and drawing down Lakeview's reserve for operations, the stability of the nursing home and general fund may be jeopardized. If this cut is setting a precedence, this could have an unfavorable impact on the rating, realizing that the enterprise fund can only sustain this drawdown in reserves through 2017 and would eventually then need general fund support to continue its operations. The county at any time may require all or a portion of the enterprise unrestricted net position to be transferred to any other fund at any time. Unlike the special revenue funds, where the fund balances are committed by the county board and only by county board resolution be transferred out of the fund for the purpose other than the fund itself. And when we go into the budget process, we're talking about, we always look at the levy limits. And as you know, that back in, prior to 2011, the levy limits allowed for a 3% increase on the allowable levy. Since that time, the levy limit law was changed to allow for a net increase of the percent of net new construction on the prior year's actual levy. So after the debt adjustment. So any unused levy capacity at this point is only allowable at a rate of 1.5% of only the prior year's actual levy, and only with the support of 3/4 of a vote of the county board. In 2016, the allowable increase for the 2016 budget was $133,591. In addition, we had budgeted for a $500,000 increase for our debt capacity, which would allow for future highway construction projects. That was for highway road construction purposes, so that as we go for the next bond issue, we may be able to reduce that bond issue by the amount of whatever we have available, so that that issue isn't as large. And again, you'd be going for credit rating on that issue to fund those future highway construction projects. So that funding would be available for that purpose. So that's really all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Heidi. We have to have a motion and a second before we ask any questions or discussion. Is there a motion for approval of the 2016 budget? Motion by Supervisor Freidowitz. Is there a second to approve? Second. The second by Supervisor Vice Chairman Gary Barrington. Now we can ask questions or discussion. Supervisor Craig?
My comment is, those of you who know me and how conservative I am not in agreement with putting the $500,000 that Heidi just talked about for highway construction in this budget. When we first saw the budget, it didn't have it, and then there was a proposal of maybe we should do $150,000 or perhaps $350,000 for the highway construction. And with this final budget, it was $500,000. That's a difference of $14 a thousand. So it's the idea that I just don't think at this time, if we don't have a place for it, we know that it will get spent somewhere, and I think I would rather do the bonding. so that when we come to the bonding issue, if it's 4 million like it was last time, it's 4 million. We vote on that. We've also added from our fund balance into the highway 455,000 this coming year for highway construction. So then if you add the 500,000 we're also adding, I would just rather be more conservative. And I totally understand why we're doing it. I understand why we're doing what we're doing with the levy and the debt and the unused. I get all that, but it's just my conservative self that says I do not like the 500,000 that we're putting into the budget, raising the increase then to $16 instead of a $2. Thank you.
Supervisor Craig, just, did you mean $14 per $1,000? 100,000
Yes,
you meant,
yes,
right?
yes, I'm sorry,
Okay,
yes, 100,000.
thank you.
Oh, 1,000, we'd all be broke.
Maybe you wouldn't, but anyhow, other questions? Supervisor Boyer.
Yes, I too am conservative, and I would like to see the tax levy for Lakeview Manor be lowered by 500,000. I think this would still leave plenty of money in their enterprise account, and doing it 1 year I don't think would be a problem.
Thank you. Supervisor Zog.
I would take that one step further, Supervisor Boyer. I've heard from half dozen people in my district. We've gotten 2 different letters from people about Lakeview Manor from across the county. There was a letter to the editor from another citizen in the Waupaca Post. One of my good friends in Waupaca County, former County Exec Dan Vrackus, was at a meeting in last summer. We got to talking about county business, whatever, and I asked how they keep things so sound and stable in Waupaca County. He said they privatized a lot of things over the years. And I think it's about time that we look at privatizing Lakeview Manor and keeping, the $1.5 million that we're supposedly giving them again and taking over their enterprise fund of $1.5 million. That certainly would help in other county projects.
Thank you. Yes, Supervisor, Vice Chair Barrington.
I'm glad there are so many conservatives here. I am also, so I fit right with you.
Use the mic, Gary.
Oh, sorry. Just for the record, Fred, nobody's giving Lakeview Manor anything. It's money that was earned over the years. Lakeview Manor recently received some new information that's going to affect our decision. What I'm doing at this time is asking that you not do anything with this budget, not remove anything. We will do a presentation in March or April that will explain this new position. I can't talk about it now because it hasn't been vetted properly. We need to do some more investigation, but it will affect Lakeview Manor greatly. Thank you.
Excuse me, Gary, what do you mean by earned?
Well, nobody gave it to us, Fred. Who would have given it to us?
I mean, how did Lakeview Manor earn the money? By patients?
Direct your questions to the
You
chair.
have to direct it up here, Fred, sorry.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, my question is, how did Lakeview Manor earn it? What does it earn? Where does that come from?
We charge people to be there. We charge
Oh,
people.
by patients, in other words, okay.
Yeah,
But still, we are supporting it.
absolutely.
Other questions? Discussion? Supervisor Boyer.
If I want to put that in the form of a motion, do I do it now or later?
Probably sooner than better, because pretty soon we'll call for a motion for approval.
Okay.
We did already, but I mean, we're gonna wait vote, so
Okay.
you'd have to make a motion to amend.
Okay. I move that we amend our budget and reduce the operating levy that's been allocated to Lakeview Manor by $500,000.
Okay, you heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Zog. Further discussion. Supervisor Fedorowicz.
This has all been good discussion, and I appreciate everybody's comments because I think we all have a concern on Lakeview Manor. My only concern right now would be is that we don't, I don't know what the term is, knee-jerk. Usually in a case like this, I'm just thinking back to some of the recent news where you had like Kraft and Oscar Mayer, where they're closing a building in Madison and so forth. Usually you take a little time to plan it, so I don't have the answers here. However, I would caution you to take this money probably out at this time. I would sooner like to have this issue properly debated in March or April once and for all, so that we can properly do it, whether it's going to be the closing eventually of the organization out there at Lakeview Manor, or if it's going to be doing something else that's profitable, but at least take the time and energy to properly have a sequence of events here in any type of business that you get to the bottom of it and then do the job that we're supposed to be doing. That would be my main concern right now, that we are not doing something that we regret that we did for the wrong reason at the wrong time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yes,
concur with
Mr.
Supervisor
Sorensen.
Sarowitz and Supervisor Gary Barrington as our chairman. I'm the vice chairman of the committee, and I would like to see the budget remain as presented for further discussion and study in the near future.
Thank you. Supervisor Craig.
On the ad hoc committee, when we went through all of the various scenarios, and I think even before that at finance, even if you were to close Lakeview Manor, there's a certain amount of money that you need to do that. For that reason alone, where we haven't even made a decision yet, I hesitate to take money out of that fund should it be needed. I don't want to say for closing it, but should it be needed for that purpose, I think it needs to stay there as versus not. We need to be able to run it until we decide what we're going to do with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Ellis, did you have your hand raised? Or?
Yes, sir. I was just going to say, I would more agree with taking some of that money out. We could always, at the expense of the taxpayers, put some back if we decided that was a bad decision. But it seems like every time we talk about Lakeview Manor, this is a dark science that most of us do not understand. We do not understand why it costs us almost $1 million every year of taxpayer money to go in there when we've got money sitting on the side. So my thought would be the discussions of Lakeview Manor in March or whenever they occur will be a little bit more serious if we take some of this money out and let the taxpayers enjoy a little relief.
Thank you. Is there anyone else before we vote on the amendment? Supervisor Boyer?
In answer to Pat, they will still have $800,000 in their enterprise account.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Supervisor McClellan.
I appreciate everyone in here that can agreeably disagree. And the question is, do we want to continue to kick the can down the road, or do we want to do something? And I don't know how I'm going to vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your honesty. Supervisor Zog.
Well, I do know how I'm going to vote, Supervisor McClellan, but as far as the kicking the can down the road, I think ever since I've been on the board, it's 4 years now, something on Lakeview Manor has always come up, whether keeping it going, changing it to a different type of facility or whatever. And I think it's about time we address it and make some hard decisions on what to do with it.
Thank you. Anybody else before we vote? Okay.
I have a question for clarity.
Oh, Supervisor, I'm sorry.
Oh, Mary
Kay.
I have a question for clarity as far as the vote is, we vote yes if we want 500,000 from their budget and no if we don't, correct?
Correct.
On the amendment, yes. Supervisor Penny, did you have a?
Yes, I had something I wanted to say, and I think I'm qualified because I'm the oldest person in this room today. And that is, I was at the WCA convention last month over in La Crosse, and I had the opportunity to speak with a lot of different board members from a lot of different counties. And I think the biggest problem that they all decided upon is how do we as a county, how do we as counties prepare to take care of our rapidly growing adult population? Believe it or not, that in the United States today, there are 5.3 million people in the United States over the age of 65 that have Alzheimer's. And this is a ratio of 1 in 3. So as an example, with a county board with 27 people on it, if all of us were over the age of 65, 3 of us here are going to come down with Alzheimer's. And the sad part of it is, by the year 2025, 10 years from now, that figure is going to jump up to 7.1 million. And I just think that we got to look ahead and remember that we might need all these facilities. And Lakeview Manor is a very beautiful facility. We have very dedicated workers that work there, and people are well taken care of like they are in all places. But these are some things we have to take into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Quistman.
I'd be interested in knowing what that $500,000 out of the budget how would that reflect on the tax levy?
Heidi?
I would have to calculate that because my numbers are. The mill rate would be, the combined mill rate would be lowered to 6.64 per thousand. $0.14 per thousand, $14 per $100,000 home. Less.
Thank you. Any other money?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, also if you've looked at the booklet that we have in such small print next year, Heidi, could you make it in bigger print? But anyway, you will notice on Lakeview's budget that if we give them the full amount at the end of 2016, it would show that their unassigned account would be 1.9 something million. So that 500,000 shouldn't look that way according to what my book shows.
Well, could you show me or give me the, may I ask for the page number? Because that might be a typo then. Because at the close of 2014, Lakeview Manor had in the unrestricted net position,
I'm looking.
sorry. Unrestricted and net position in the nursing home fund was at the end of 2014 was 1.59 million. During the 2015 budget process, I believe they budgeted right around 100,000 of usage, so that would bring that down to 1.49. And in the current budget, they're budgeting an additional 166,689. So that would reduce it down to I don't remember the exact number that was used for the 2015 budget, so I don't have that in front of me. That would be reduced down to 1.3 if they end up utilizing the full amount that they budgeted to use in 2015, and then the budgeted amount that they have for 2016.
I think it's on page 11, Heidi. It says projected fund balance, 1,951,691.
That's overall. You have 620,000 invested in net capital assets, so that's not spendable. That is not liquid.
But they could use it.
No, they could not, because it's invested in a capital asset. It's a fixture. It would not be able to be used for cash. It's not a liquid asset. So of that, their overall fund balance would be there, but currently at the close of the year, they had 600, at the close of 2014, they had 620,000 of that was invested in net capital assets. Capital assets less your depreciation.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion before we vote? I'm going to have our corporate counsel again remind us what a yes and no vote means.
Mary? Yeah. The yes vote would be that you agree to amend the budget and reduce operation levy to Lakeview Manor in the amount of $500,000. That's what you're voting on now, is the amendment part to the budget.
And a no vote, it stays
No,
the same.
it stays the same, and go back to the main motion.
Okay, we got that clear?
And I would ask Heidi, does the 500,000 then need to be reallocated somewhere else?
You'd be changing the resolution in front of you. The general tax would be reduced from $159,412 to $17,659,142.
Everyone got this straight? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. The motion is defeated, 11-14. So the budget is as it is, but you still have to vote on the budget
Yes.
main motion.
Yes. Now we're back to the main motion on the budget, which we do have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
At this point, then, we still need to discuss the fact that we're raising the taxes, and we still have people that it's going to harm more than help. And maybe we need to look at reducing what we have decided on that $500,000 for the highway, even if it is an unpopular thing. Seeing the Finance Committee did give them the $455 additional for this coming year, we need to consider reducing that by $300,000. And I guess I would make a motion to reduce it by $250,000. We'll cut it right in the middle.
So that's the amendment you're making?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Supervisor Boyer. Questions? Discussion? Supervisor Fedowitz.
I don't have any magical answer for this either, as far as why the 500,000 versus the 250,000 was chosen, and certainly from a conservative standpoint, some of us all want to be considered to be conservative. I'm certainly not liberal. However, I'm practical, and the practical sense in me from a business standpoint and financial standpoint is looking ahead. We never gain anything by postponing the inevitable, and the inevitable in our county right now is our roads. And I don't think there's anybody you're going to talk to unless that person is very unique and doesn't go out in the country and travel on the roads, that we need to get our roads up to par. I've checked with as many people as I know in Clintonville area. I've told them the facts, exactly what it's going to cost. Not a one person has said anything negative about it once they knew it was going to be for roads. However, what I'm really trying to say here is the bonding, like Heidi alluded to, maybe we can reduce the bonding in the future, because the bonding cost is certainly not going to go down. As inflation eventually is going to get back in the picture here, even though it's been postponed for a while. And then when you do bond, I mean, now you're paying the interest, and that's interest money that's going someplace else other than unless somebody in this county buys a bond. So yes, it's $16. Don't get me wrong. Nobody likes to spend any more than they have to. However, we did defeat the wheel tax, and that would have been a lot more expensive, especially for the individuals that probably have the lower income, because most people have 2 cars. And that would have been like $40 or something per household. $16 is still a lot, don't get me wrong. But I think if we get the money out there fast enough and get these roads taken care of the way we should, we're going to save not only on the cost, but the cost of labor, material, and everything else continues to go up. So you're never going to get there fast enough unless you want roads that are going to be 50 years in length, and you know what they look like. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, just a second. Supervisor Fleece was just in front of you.
I would hate to see this $500 lowered to $250,000. We have made a lot of strides on building roads in Waupaca County, and we have a lot more to do. And like Mr. Fetterwood says, the longer we wait, the more it's going to cost. And maybe we can lower our bonding in another couple of years by putting this $500,000 in there. I would certainly hate to see it taken out. Thank you.
Thank you. And roads is so important, as we know, and just in the county highway I here in Clintonville. A number of residents came over and expressed their ideas of widening the road, which your committee did, and we settled on 26 feet. And it's going to be about $1 million project. We just can't go quite as far yet, but we're going to have a beautiful road, and that road's been deteriorated for a long time, those of you who have driven on it. We got many more of those in Waupaca County, believe me, many more. I hear it, I get calls, I get a lot of emails. When are you going to do something about your roads? And I tell them we got a plan. They want to see the plan. They said all the roads are being done in Waupaca, not around Clintonville. That's not true, because I've got a map showing what's colored from the Highway Committee where we can do all the roads. So, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Mary Kay, you had a...
I think I forgot what I was saying.
Okay. Okay, Mr. McClellan?
I have to support Mr. Fleece about 2,000%. You know, and I come from the Clintonville Bear Creek area, and when I live in Farmington, and we have the best roads you can imagine. And Q is finally getting finished where we're in dispute. But the bottom line is, we can't expect any department to keep cutting back if we're going to be progressive in this county. You know, I'm sorry that the highway department spends money, and we may be in for a rough winter. We don't even know what's going to happen. And I know 2 winters ago and 3 winters ago, everybody was mad about the overtime. What are you going to do when it snows? What are you going to do when everything's frozen? You have to make the highways safe. But go on to other departments, we still have to improve on those. So we need this $500,000, and we need more money in the future coming forward. I don't want to be a regressive county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
I just want to comment that I agree with Mr. Federich, because we have no idea what the bonding is going to cost, and if it would suddenly double, just think of our interest.
Thank you. Mary Kay, I'm sorry.
This 500,000 then goes into a separate savings account for the future. Is that my understanding? Heidi?
Okay, all the fund, there is no separate savings accounts, just so we're all clear on that. They're fund balances. And what we would do is the levy itself is being levied in a transportation services fund, which is a special revenue fund. When the board adopts the budget, those funds are committed for the purpose of highway construction projects. So the transportation fund will now show 3 separate committed fund balances. One will be committed for the special bridge aids, one will be committed for highway construction projects, and one will be committed for general maintenance, okay? So the only way those funds could ever be moved out of that fund is via resolution that would be passed at the county board floor, and I think it requires a 3/4 vote.
Okay, Mary, do you want to explain now what a no and a yes vote's going to mean on this amendment?
A yes vote for the amendment would be to reduce $250,000 to that highway fund.
And a no vote.
And a no vote means you want to keep it in as is.
Okay. Okay, we all understand it now, so we prepare to vote? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. The motion is defeated, 5-20.
Now we're back to the original budget. We already have a motion and a second on the original budget.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Yes.
Can we possibly, from the unassigned budget that we took money from for the highway, can we possibly also take from that budget as an amendment to add about $200,000 for security of our courthouse? I think that's also a very important need. Also mentioned at WCA by Mark O'Connell that we should increase security at our courthouses. And obviously from our security meetings and so forth, we've asked in the past for funding for this and it's always been denied.
Supervisor Pullman, are you making a motion for an amendment on that?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second? Second by Supervisor Quistman. Discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Heidi? Sorry.
May I speak?
Yes.
Okay, what I would, okay, I just, what we have to be cautionary on is when we're using fund balance for operating expenditures, you are putting yourself, so what I would like is, are you, is the, if the amendment is to create a courthouse security department with ongoing operating expenses that you're going to have to eventually levy for, I would caution you on that. If you're using the unassigned fund balance or assigned fund balance for a capital one-time purchase, that is much less detrimental to the county as a whole than if you're using it for an ongoing operating expense.
My desire for that would be a one-time capital, like setting the building up more secure. And then we can go from there as far as what else is looked at, I guess. 200,000.
Again, yeah, I just would like to, we would have to place that in the budget under the capital outlay listing and, you know, a little, it gets a little more specific as, you know, once we do place it as to what that project would look like.
Specific, it'd be a project specific, you really need to know.
Well, yes, because we have to determine if it's really a capital expenditure or it's not, if it meets the qualifications of a capital expenditure.
Supervisor Questman?
In the case of providing the Sheriff's Department with more personnel to man and manage a courthouse security program, what, in your estimation, would be how would you categorize that?
That would be an operating expenditure, because you're adding employees with constant expenditures year in and year out. A capital expenditure is building a building, building a road, the audiovisual upgrade out in the courtroom. That's a one-time purchase or a one-time expenditure.
Supervisor Craig?
I think this is interesting. I want to go back, if I may, to the management team that set up the budget, that helped the finance committee set up the budget. And my concern right now is that we're taking things from our fund balance for things that may not have made it into our original budget. And if we turn around, there's probably projects that all of us would like to see happening on the county level. For example, I'd like to say, let's use some money and get those nurses their laptops. But I don't feel that this is the place to do it necessarily on the budget floor when we're this far. So for that reason, I think that we should work through the budget system, although you did understand that I was in agreement with not having the 500,000 there for a highway. But it's the idea that we have the budget process that pulls these all together. And for that reason that Heidi has explained, where we take things out of the fund balance and use them for operating is not a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Craig. I totally agree with you, and I agree with Supervisor Quistman too, because my concern is courthouse security needs to happen here. It really does. Some of us been threatened and through some difficult decisions in the court or from whatever reason we've been threatened, and something's got to be funded. But this is really the wrong place to do it, I think, at this time. We've got to have a plan starting January 1st and talk about courthouse security and get it budgeted and how we're going to budget it and how we're going to have this plan in effect. Today we don't know how we're going to do it, but we've got to do it somehow. I agree. Supervisor Fedowitz.
I totally agree with you, Mr. Chairman, as well as Pat. I mean, this is not the proper time and place for this, because we're just thinking of this, and if it's truly needed, then let's put it someplace where it gets resolved and put it in the budget next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Mock.
I agree on that. We have no idea what this is gonna cost, so $250,000 or whatever you might put in there might not even touch it, and if you're gonna go to the future, where's this money coming from? And but until you have a plan in place, I just can't see how you can just start something without a plan. And I think it's gotta go back to a committee and start from scratch and have somebody come up with a game plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Boyer.
I'm on public property, and I don't think there's been a meeting that security for this building hasn't come up. And I remember saying to somebody one time, if something happens and the reporter sticks a microphone in my mouth, I'm not going to answer, because I think something needs to be done. I think by putting some money aside when we're at our committee meeting and we come up with an idea, at least there's some money in there for this year rather than waiting another year.
Thank you. There goes your story, Jack. Mr. Murphy?
Listen, every meeting I've been to, we've talked about security, all right? And if in fact we do a one-time shot at $200,000, it'll at least jumpstart the process, and we can really start moving ahead on it. If we put it off and we wait until next year, well, who knows, we might wait till the following year. But it's essential we get something done and we get it started. So I'm for taking the $200,000 out.
Thank you. Supervisor Quistman?
I think it's called kicking the can down the road.
Okay, clerk, you want to tell us how this, what we're voting?
The motion was to add $200,000 to the budget as a one-time capital expense, correct? Is that the motion, as we heard it? So voting on that would be yes to add the $200,000 for security, for courthouse security. And a no would be to leave the budget as is.
Supervisor Fedowitz.
Is that what the motion is? I thought it was taking it out of,
Oh, take it
or
out.
on the sign, wasn't it?
Unassigned, Mary Kay, can you clarify?
Yes, it's to take from the unassigned fund account, like we did for the highways, for a one-time capital, however Heidi put it. Correct?
So you'd be, what we did for the highway projects is the finance committee assigned an additional $455,000 to the capital improvement program plan. So
And that's how
they would be requesting, and that really would, the assignage happens at the finance committee level.
So does everybody understand it? It's $200,000 towards courthouse security out of the unassigned?
Out of the unassigned, you said. And it's either,
Yes, it means you wish to have that.
and no, we don't.
Correct.
Okay,
at this time.
please vote.
Last chance to vote. 17-8 passes. The amendment passes.
Okay, now we're back to the
Main motion as amended now.
main motion on the budget as amended. We've all got that, right? Okay? We've got a motion and a second. We've got a motion and a second on the main budget as amended. And are we ready to go? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 19-6 as amended.
That was easy. Thank you. Some years we've been out of here in 15 minutes, but that's good we have this input. That's really good. Good stuff. Okay, good morning, everyone. Again, just a short chairman's report before we take a break. We'll take a short break after I get done here. I just want to tell you a couple of positive things that have happened. Some of you know about this, but there are a number of you that are on the County Mutual steering committees from Waupaca County, and that's really great. And I'm honored to be on their board of the County Mutual, and something really good happened here locally here. To Mr. Ryan Weezy. He got a letter from Mark O'Connell, Assistant Secretary of County Mutual, saying, "Dear Mr. Weezy, congratulations, you were selected to receive a $2,000 scholarship from the Wisconsin County Mutual Insurance Corporation. Enclosed, please find check made out to both of you and your school. This award can be applied to your tuition bill by taking it to your school financial aid office. If you have any questions, give us a call. Sincerely, Mark O'Connell." And I just want to tell you that County Mutual does this all over the state, and finally it came home to rest here in Waupaca County. We have a great student, Ryan Weezy. In fact, I think his mom works at the courthouse.
Yeah, she works at UW Extension now.
She works at UW Extension, so that was really a fun letter to get. And the other positive note is, you know, that we had Mr. Jersley up here last year with his dad. And I know some of you gave him grief why he held up Gordon at third base, and he didn't win. They beat the Giants. I guess it was me that did that. But. So this year he came home a world champion, and I sent some of you photos. I greeted him at the gas station the other morning. He arrived home Friday, and we had a good 2-hour chat. It was hard to get away with all his World Series playoff stories, baseball stories, and I told him I would like him to come here again along with his son Justin and his dad Don, hopefully at the January meeting. And so he tentatively agreed to do that because of the success, he's going to be wanted all over. He just is. Sunday he did a baseball camp in Marshfield already, and that's how busy he is. He is taking a week off and going to Mexico with some friends, and then coming back. And he'll begin his workings at a $10 job down to Mitch's Fine Furniture. So I asked him if he had to ask off the next week. He said, "I am not asking off, and that's not going to show up." So, but at any rate, it was a great chat with him. He had a lot of great stories, and I hope he can share them with all of us here come January. So thank you. We'll take a short break. I got to add something to security. Talking to Mike Jersley the other morning, he said it really is leery at Kansas City Royal Stadium when you're told where all the sharpshooters are around the stadium. nicest actually in our shop. And the other thing is, talking just a little trash talk, he said, I heard you were in the hospital, Dick. I said, no, I was just there to, you know, we all get irregular heartbeats, and they had to stop my heart and start it again. He said, why did they do that? I said, because of regular heartbeat. He says, no, why did they start it again? Trash talk. With that, we'll go on to ordinances and/or amendments to General Court of Ordinances. A, amend Chapter 45 Comprehensive Plan to Plum-08-15 Town of Larrabee and Plum-09-15 Town of Lynn. Resolution number 31-15-16. For Brian.
Okay, we'll start with the comprehensive plan amendment in the town of Lynn. This here is the property that we recently took over. Well, this property here is the one that we recently took over on tax deed. And while we were going through the process and working with the town on that, they realized that the residential property to the north, this property here, was actually planned as being industrial. And they didn't think that, or actually, I'm sorry, it was planned as being commercial, and they didn't think that was a good idea. The idea was to keep that as residential to match the existing use. So the comp plan amendment that was passed at the local level and planning and zoning was to change that to being residential.
So for this preferred land use map, you will be approving both resolution number 31 and to amend chapter 45.
Okay.
No, that's the only one in Lynn.
What's your, there's a motion by Pat Craig to approve. And there's a second by Mr. Ellis. Any questions or discussion? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
Item B is amend chapter 34, 2015-595, Z-034, 15, Town of Larrabee, assigned district AWT.
We can do it the second part, the first one was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. I'm sorry. You want me to go back to?
It's the same resolution,
Yeah.
the same amendment. That's why I was asking that now we need Larrabee. So this is Larrabee. It's also on that same.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need another vote, right?
Yeah. First, Ryan can show where
Yeah, I
this
can
is.
quick show what's going on here. The town of Larrabee, when I went out there initially to take care of some problems, that we've had this in a couple months prior with the resource protection overlay district that we've had. And when I went up there to talk about that, they also were interested in changing their preferred land use map to the same system that a lot of the other towns are doing, where they're changing their districts over to planning districts, meaning agricultural, commercial, industrial. So this reflects the one that they had adopted at the local level. The only thing that they had changed was that they added a little bit more commercial areas along the Highway 45 corridors, Highway 45 coming up along here. You see these 40s along here, they added some more commercial areas to that. So that's the only real change. They also have some, this orange area here, this is a hamlet or mixed use areas. So they expanded that a little bit, but that was the only real change in terms of the comp plan amendment for Larrabee.
Is there a motion for approval? There's a motion by Supervisor Quistman, a second by Supervisor Henry. Any questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
Okay, item B is amend chapter 34, 2015-595, Z-034-15, Town of Larrabee, assigned district AWT.
So this rezone is for the resource protection. Right here, these areas right here are the ones that are being rezoned. So once again, just to quickly clarify what the problem was here. In this resource protection overlay, some of those areas were zoned solely wetland, which is not an actual legal zoning district. So what they needed to do was rezone those areas to an actual base zoning district. So what we did was we first worked on the comprehensive plan, and then they figured the best zoning district for that would be consistent with the plan. You can see this is all AWT in the town of Larrabee, so that's why they're taking these areas here to rezone into AWT.
There's a motion by Supervisor Peterson for approval, second by Supervisor Joan Lake. Questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
Item C, amend Chapter 34, 2015-596Z-35-15, Town of Larrabee, to change zoning district to SR to RR to make zoning consistent on 173.72 acres.
This is the second zoning rezoning project we had in Larrabee. As you may recall, we did a similar thing in the town of Dayton and Farmington and Royalton, where they had a lot of areas that are zoned sewered residential, but they do not have any public sewer out there, nor will they. I contacted the city of Clintonville, and they have no plans whatsoever of extending their city sewer out in into the town of Larrabee. The black on here is the areas that are being rezoned. It was on either side of the Pigeon River here, and just up north of the city here, and there's a small pocket, I guess it's kind of hard to see here, there's a couple areas here, just to the south of the city, that were zoned sort of residential that are being rezoned to rural residential. Now, as it turns out, there was actually 4 parcels, unbeknownst to the city themselves, that are actually served by the city of Clintonville. So they got taken out of the petition at the Planning and Zoning Committee level. So they've already been taken off on this map.
Is there a motion for approval? Motion by Mr. Sorensen, second by Mr. Peterson. Questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
Resolutions. A, resolution number 31, 2015-2016, Town of Larrabee and the Town of Lynn preferred land use map.
These are what you just approved, and I just have them in the resolution order to keep the resolutions in order. But if you'll notice, there's asterisks by them that shows that, see above, so we've already approved those.
We did that first.
We're already down to appointments.
Who are you appointing today?
Veteran Service Commission, Judy Deschler has agreed to serve another 3-year term, if you so approve.
A motion by Supervisor Johnson and a second by Supervisor Pullman. Any questions? Please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carries 25-0.
The announcements you see are in your packet. Before we adjourn, as your chairman, I just want to thank, excuse me, she's up first.
You can finalize it. I just want to, on your desk is your packet. This is for, your election is up this coming spring. If you are wishing to run again, you would turn in your declaration of candidacy and your campaign registration statement. You cannot circulate your nomination papers until December 1st. And then at that time, you need 20 to 100 signatures. They need to be returned to the clerk's office no later than, I believe it's January 5th at 5 p.m., but that's in here. But I just wanted to let you know you can't start your nominations until December 1st, but you can either fill out your declaration of candidacy, campaign registration statement, or if you no longer wish to run, then you would file your non-candidacy form without office in the county clerk.
And with that note, she gave me my envelope and there's nothing in there, so I guess I got rest. Before we adjourn, as your chair, I just want to thank all of you, starting from the management team, starting all year long, for your many hours of putting in, starting this budget process, which it's not easy, it's a gut wrencher, and getting it fine-tuned for our finance committee to start looking at in end of August, September, and talking about tweaks and all that type of thing. I want to thank our finance chair, Dwayne Federwitz. It's always good to have a chair that's a retired professional banker that can give us some sound advice. I want to thank you supervisors too for your interest in the budget, asking questions, calling Heidi, and I'm glad you don't call me because I tell you to call Heidi. And most of all, I want to thank Heidi. What a job that she's done since she's been our finance director. I'll tell you, it's even for a dummy like me, to understand the budget is a lot easier than it used to be. Nothing against their previous guy, but she's modernized her system so much with software, and this girl puts in a lot of hours, and I think she deserves a vacation here and to get out of here for a while. And so that's it. Just a great job, people. And what about finance chair? Do you have anything to say, Mr. Federwitz? He's not saying nothing, so.
I do want to mention 200 announcements. Under WCA appointment of Clyde Telek to Wisconsin County Taxation and Finance Steering Committee, Supervisor Patricia Craig was also appointed to that committee. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
And Vice Chair Barrington, do you have any final comments on the budget? Okay. With that being said, Don Asa made a motion to adjourn. The second by Mr. Peterson. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, please vote.
Last chance to vote. Motion carried, 25-0.